A warm welcome to everyone. Thank you for gracing your presence in our webinar today. Our topic for today's discussion is effective storytelling, master the art of communication and presentation. Before we move ahead, I would like to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Khushi Gautam, a digital marketing specialist at Cloudonology. Today, in this informative webinar, we'll be equipped with essential elements of designing a communication. You will also learn how to deliver an impactful presentation. Lastly, you will be introduced to the PIP approach of communication. So before we move ahead with the knowledge-packed webinar, it would be a privilege to introduce Cloudonology before you. Cloudonology is a leading Salesforce Silver partner and CRM development and implementation partner for Salesforce. Cloudonology expertise in Salesforce customization, implementation, integration, and migration services. The experts and the team members of Cloudonology will help you drive maximum output from the leading Salesforce cloud. Connect with Cloudonology today for any assistance or queries related to CRM services and their implementation. Now, I would like to introduce before you our speaker for today, Isha Tuli, a project manager at Cloudonology. She possesses excellent experience and capability in the project lifecycle, setting project quality and performance standards, assessing and managing risk across multiple projects. As a project manager, she puts countless efforts ensuring that the tasks are carried out in the best suited way for our clients. Now, without any further delay, let's begin with our webinar. Over to you, Isha.
Thank you so much, Khushi, for this wonderful introduction. Firstly, I would like to express a heartfelt thank you to our attendees for joining us in for today's webinar. So now let's get started and take a look at our agenda for today's webinar. What are essential elements for designing any important communication? Top tips to make a good presentation even more effective. Overview of dynamics of communication, process of communication, means of communication, using storytelling in communication and barriers in communication, importance of presentation in today's era, best practices to deliver a memorable presentation, and lastly, we'll explore the PIP approach to improve communication skills and become a great leader. If we talk about communication and presentation skills, these have become necessary in today's rapid era of digitalization. Effective communication can help us become more assertive, have better connections, and live a happy life. Whether you are a student or a working professional, our webinar will help you explore effective communication benefits. You will also learn to adopt some of the best communication practices that will help you to communicate your message effectively and clearly. Let us first discuss the process of communication. Communication can be defined as a process that results in a common understanding of the message between two people. The method of communication is not static. Instead, it is dynamic. By learning how to create killer presentations and improving your spoken English, you can successfully master the art of communicating effectively. Communication helps us overcome diverse cultures, build trust and respect, and create incentives for creative ideas and solutions. Let us now explore the 5 critical elements for designing vital communication. Sender and receiver. A sender is the one who initiates the conversation. A sender conveys the message intending to pass the message or information to the other person. To communicate effectively, a sender must use both verbal and non-verbal techniques. A sender must note that the message is drafted clearly with a single meaning. There are no mistakes in grammar or spelling, and all the information given in the message is accurate. Receiver, on the other hand, is a listener, a reader, observer, or the group of people to whom a message is directed. A receiver is the one who decodes the message with as little distortion as possible. The best way to receive a message is to listen or read it carefully without any disturbance. Medium. The message travels from one point to another through a channel of communication. A medium is a system through which the message is conveyed between a sender and the receiver. For every communication made, a different medium is used. There are various channels used for communication, from the spoken word to radio, television, and internet site, or written material like a book, letter, or a magazine. Therefore, it is imperative to focus on the medium through which a message is transmitted. Contextual factors. Contextual factors refer to those visual, statistical information, research, or other vital information supporting and adding relevance to your message. It is essential to attach subsequent contextual factors with your message to highlight your message. Contextual factors add credibility to the eyes of the audience. Be very specific while adding the contextual factors. Add only the relevant ones. Do not overfill your message with unnecessary information that is not required. Message. A message is the most crucial element of communication. A message can be delivered in various ways, like an oral presentation, a written document, an advertisement, a speech, or a comment. Therefore, a sender must compose the message carefully and consider how the message can be interpreted. Feedback. Lastly, feedback is the last element of an effective communication process. It describes the receiver's action or response to the sender's message. The receiver can send feedback through questions, comments, or assistance for the delivered message. The sender uses feedback to assess how the receiver interpreted a message and how it can be improved.
So before we go ahead, I would like to have one question with you, Isha. That how do you describe effective communication and what are the ways to improve a communication skill?
Well, effective communication can be very well defined as delivering messages to a target audience to efficiently receive and understand the message. In addition, effective communication will ensure that both the sender and the receiver will share the same information. For improved communication skills, one should consider the following, like do not over communicate while communicating, engage the audience in the conversation, be an active listener, listen more than you talk, start practice of observing, listening, and then speaking. Be clear and precise with your words when you are speaking. Communicate without any distractions. Repeat critical points to the audience. Do not deviate from the topic while you're speaking. So, our next topic for the webinar is the dynamics of communication. In dynamics of communication, firstly, we will talk about means of communication. Communication skills are often categorized as soft skills or interpersonal skills. There are many different ways to communicate and share information. Every means of communication is unique and beneficial in its way. Today, we will take a closer look at the various types of communication. There are total 4 types of communication: verbal, non-verbal, written, and visual. Let's talk about them in detail. Verbal communication. The use of spoken words to convey information in a speech or sign language is called oral communication. The most common examples of verbal or oral communication are video conferencing, phone calls, meetings, and one-on-one conversations and presentations. Verbal communication is based on the speaker's tone, clarity of speech, volume, speed, quality of words, and body language. The success of verbal communication depends on both the speaker's speaking ability and the listening skills of the listener. Verbal communication is suitable for both formal and informal situations. Next is non-verbal communication. The process of conveying meaning without using written or spoken words is called non-verbal communication. The most common examples of nonverbal communication are facial expressions, hand motions, body language, positions, and gestures. Nonverbal communication adds meaning and helps people to communicate more effectively. It complements everything said in words, such as people nod to admit and move their hands to give guidance. Nonverbal communication helps us to understand the thoughts and feelings of the other people in a better way. Written communication. Written communication is the process of writing, printing, or typing to convey information. Written communication provides a record for future reference. The most common examples of written communication are letters, circulars, manuals, reports, telegrams, office memos, bulletins, etc. It is a formal method of communication. Written communication should be clear and concise with all the relevant information. Developing written communication skills requires practice and fine attention to detail. Visual communication. Visual communication refers to graphic elements to convey a message to the audience. During presentations, visuals are often used to provide helpful context alongside written or verbal communication. Visuals used for communication should be appealing as well as informative. Visual communications involves selecting the correct text, icons, shapes, imagery, and data visualization to create meaning for your audience. The next topic we will discuss is the barriers in communication. Communication barriers refer to those elements that come in receiving and understanding the message that another person conveys. These barriers often block the process of communication partially or entirely. There are many barriers to communication that may occur during the process of communication. Barriers often make your message distorted by creating confusion and misunderstanding. The barriers to effective communication could be linguistic, psychological, emotional, physical, and cultural. Effective communication involves overcoming these barriers and conveying a clear and concise message.
I would like to have one more question with you, which is from the audience. So, how a person should overcome the barriers of communication? Because, as you listed, there are many barriers. So, what should be the ways, means, what should be the key takeaways that they should keep in mind in order to overcome the barriers?
Of course, so there are many points which can help one to overcome the barriers of communication. Like you can avoid overloading of information, speak clearly in a concise manner, use a proper medium of communication. You should try and avoid jargon and use simple language. One must listen actively before reciprocating back to the speaker. You should always clarify your idea before communicating. Ensure proper feedback. Keep a proper follow up for the messages and always maintain eye contact. So, moving ahead, our next topic is using the art of storytelling while communicating. The most effective way to engage your audience is to communicate through storytelling. Stories make us experience the information rather than just consuming it. In the corporate world, successful communication is the act of striking a chord that's powerful enough to drive your audience to action. The most effective way to engage with your audience is through storytelling. Storytelling is a powerful tool in the hands of an intelligent communicator. It builds trust with the audience as the audience is pushed first. Yet, whenever I try to introduce the concept of storytelling in communication, I often hear how to create a narrative to form a compelling story. Storytelling is not a new concept. For thousands of years, people have been telling stories and are doing it every day. Now we will be talking about few points that will help you create a story that serves the basic needs of your business. Problem and its solution. First, try to introduce the prevalent issue and then provide a solution. What was the current situation? What are the setbacks? What is the solution to the problem? A good point of resolution will satisfy your audience and enhance your message. Make an emotional connection. Emotions make a story impactful. Use descriptive vocabulary to make your audience understand what you're talking about. For instance, instead of simply talking about the client and the project, describe the people involved and what were the initial challenges and benefits of the project. Keep it simple. Business storytelling is different from writing a novel. Plot twists are not needed. Instead, you need to focus on telling a thoughtful yet straightforward story. Talk about the problem and its solution. Tell the audience how you will help your clients. Make it relatable. As humans, we tend to engage more when we can relate. While describing your story, mention the challenges that you have faced, how these challenges changed your way of thinking or shaped the outcome. There are very high chances that your audience will relate to the challenges. By making your story relatable, you let your audience make the story about them.
So we have one more question from our viewers' behalf, which is what is the right mantra for delivering the impactful presentation or the presentation which catches people's eye and people are much relating to the presentation, because it's not just giving the presentation, it's also making them understand what you're trying to speak, because that is also part of communication. So what do you think is the right mantra?
So thank you, Kushi, for raising a very valid question. In our next topic, in fact, we will be discussing some relevant tips to make a presentation even more effective. So moving on to our next topic, the importance of presentation in today's era and how to deliver a successful presentation. The need for presentation skills has been increasing rapidly due to the digital era. You need practical presentation skills to present your ideas, projects, plans, strategies, and products in front of the audience. Presentation skills also contribute meaningful ways for self-promotion. Communication and presentation skills are considered to be a part of one another. You need presentation skills to be proficient in communication. Presentation skills help you interact with the audience, boss, team members, students, and teachers quickly and professionally. Hence, the presentation skills are vital for life, career, and business. Presentation skills are an integral part of the corporate world. All the leading businesses today invest in the employees with considerable presentation skills. As a result, presentation skills rule the corporate world, be it a job interview or cracking a business deal. Now, let's look at some of the key points that will help you deliver an impactful presentation. Spend considerable time and focus on creating great content. Show your passion and connect with your audience. Smile and make eye contact with your audience. Treat your presentation like a conversation. Focus on your audience's needs. Engage with the audience. Keep it simple. Concentrate on your core message. Start your presentation with a strong note. Remember the 10-20-30 rule for slideshows. Tell stories. Make your audience laugh a little. Don't underprepare or overprepare yourself. Use your voice effectively. Don't let the slides be your notes. Use your body language to convey particular message. Relax, breathe, and enjoy.
Indeed, these were efficient tips and more insightful ones. So I'm sure our audience would have got the answer to their questions. Isha, so what we have more for our viewers. So what's the next topic? What's there to cover more in this webinar? Because we covered presentation, we covered communication, and our audience are able to know all these tips and ways wherein they can have a good communication skills further ahead.
Right, Kushi. So the next topic of our webinar is the PIP approach. We will be talking about the PIP approach. So moving forward, let us talk about the concept of the PIP approach. The approach simply refers to the purpose, importance, and preview. Jen Zelazny laid down this approach in his book, Say It with the Presentations. The PIP approach indicates respect towards your audience for their time and attention. The PIP approach is also a valuable way to encourage audiences to concentrate on your message and specific objectives. For this purpose, the speaker needs to mention the purpose of the presentation. Then you need to introduce and explain the resources and tools used by employees at every level. Then, in importance, you need to state the essential aspects of the presentation by reviewing the implications and possible outcomes. Finally, you need to mention the critical elements required to yield better results, more business wins, and better clients' communications. In the preview of the topic, you need to mention where you will find all the resources and tools mentioned in the presentation. You will also be briefing about how you will be using these tools and resources. You need to provide a framework for employees in the preview. At last, I would say good communication skills are an asset, and one must invest in acquiring practical communication skills. These skills serve as the parameter of an individual's success in their career. You will have to agree that communication skills are needed everywhere, be it your personal or professional life, especially growing and evolving in today's fast paced work environment. You must learn how to interact and present your ideas to people. Unfortunately, most professionals often overlook and fail to develop these communication skills. Nobody was born a perfect communicator. People who have excellent command over their speaking have worked upon their communication skills. People who are incredible speakers have worked upon their presentation skills. The only way to learn and equip yourself with practical communication skills is to practice and practice. Keep in mind the key points discussed in the webinar today while communicating or giving a presentation. I hope that I have made the concept of effective communication clear to you and the skills you need to develop to become a good communicator.
I hope our audience found the webinar knowledgeable with various key takeaways. They must have understood the dynamics of communication along with the best communication practices. Most importantly, our viewers could also introspect themselves and make changes in their communication strategies. That's all for today's webinar. It would be a complete pleasure being with each one of you today. I would like to thank you to be our lovely audience for joining our webinar for today, as we would be looking forward to see you the next time with our amazing upcoming topic coming ahead. So if you have any queries or suggestions about this webinar, please do not hesitate and feel free to contact us via mail. Details are mentioned in the description box below. And in case if you missed out on something during this webinar, don't worry. We'll soon be uploading this webinar on YouTube channel. So make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel of Cloudinology for unique and informative Salesforce content. Till then, stay home, stay safe, and take care of your loved ones. Thank you for attending this webinar.